Welcome to Game. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of T-Series.
T-Series here on GTLive.
GTLive T-Series.
I feel like this series is pretty well established. I've been counting up the numbers of episodes, but I actually don't know what this number is. I think maybe it's like 14 or something, but we've done so many of these at this point that now this is just a well-established series on this channel, which I really enjoy.
It's crazy to think about that time flies, friends. I don't know if you guys feel this.
Time is on my side.
It's not.
It never is.
Time is never on our side. No, it's crazy because it does feel like this is still a relatively new thing that we're doing, but we've done so many episodes at this point.
Yeah.
Of this kind of like, let's have a talk back about issues in the industry from, you know, James Charles drama to way back in the early day. What was episode 1's talk?
I think it was Defy. Like we talked about
it might have been Defy in
stuff.
The first one.
Yeah.
Pewds and T-Series, all sorts of fun stuff.
But as a PSA, if you are one of the people who listens to this as a podcast, which it is sort of designed to be a visual podcast, we are actually exploring right now putting all of this, all the material and all the episodes that we've done out onto podcast platforms, which we've been planning to do all along, but we wanted to amass enough episodes so that if someone stumbled across the podcast on, iTunes or something like that, and they weren't familiar with it, they would have enough material there so that they could like listen to a few and see if they liked it. So now we have enough episodes to do that, and so now we're like really narrowing it down to where we're going to put the podcast. Hopefully, several platforms. So hopefully, wherever you get your podcasts will soon be a home for this series.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you have any suggestions as to places we should put these podcasts, let us know. If you are a podcast listener and you have like a preferred platform, let us know and we'll figure it out.
We will be your podcaster. You will be our podcastee.
We're in the process of kind of having those sorts of conversations with people about like what it takes and, you know, are they okay with us being there, this and that.
Yeah.
So that is in the works. It's been in the works for a while.
We're trying to get some sponsorships and stuff like you know how H3H3 has sponsors and all the like lots of podcasts have sponsors. Jenna Marbles podcast and stuff like that, which I've just started listening to recently. So we're getting all that stuff sorted out and hopefully that'll be good.
You're such a Jenna
soon.
Marbles stan at this point.
I've gotten really into Jenna Marbles in like the last 6 months, and it's so funny because I had always been one of those people who had like sporadically watched her videos over the past, decade. And I would go on little like streaks of watching them, but I had never become like sort of a harder core fan of hers. But I think now I relate to like I relate to some of the things she says. Like, she had an episode that I just watched. Actually, I just watched it the other day, but it was from last Thanksgiving. And she was like,
way to be timely on that one,
I
Steph.
know. And she was like, look, I'm just tired from the effort of living, and I'm making Thanksgiving dinner on like as a video so that I don't have to separately make Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving. She was like, I'm just tired from 32 years of living or whatever. I'm like, oh man,
super relatable. Wow,
right?
Tired from the effort of living. It's getting real.
Tired from the effort
real,
of being
guys.
alive, and I was like, oh, I get you. And she really likes animals, which I appreciate. And she's really believes in what she believes in, but she also doesn't seem to really like beat anyone over the head with it. Like, she's not on a soapbox. She's just like, I love animals, I love plants, I'm a vegan, those are the things that I do, and she's just like real chill about it, and it's neat.
In other news about being tired about the effort of living over here,
Matthew broke his foot today.
Broke is hopefully not true. Broke is hopefully one of those things that is not actually what's going on, but I did at the very least like twist my ankle pretty severely. So here I am. Woo,
no feet on the live stream. No feet on the live stream. Oh,
that was me showing off my ice.
Did Chris get you an ice bandage?
It is. It is wrapped with ice right now.
Chris, you're such a good mom. Oh my gosh.
In our efforts, for those of you who've been watching for a while now and listening for a while now, since this is a podcast, you may be familiar with all the drama that we've had in our house, where our entire first floor was flooded and had like a decade's worth of black mold hidden in the walls that we found out as we were tearing it apart.
Cute.
Fortunately, It is almost taken care of. Like,
it's pretty much almost done, but now our efforts are to make sure that no more leaks happen anywhere in our house. So Matthew and I rented this enormous ladder today to like climb up on the outside of our house and like patch up little cracks, like tiny cracks in the house, just to make sure that it was all taken care of and like make sure the roof looked good and stuff. And the first one up, like the first time up and down the ladder, Matthew just like hooked a foot on something wrong, and Matthew took a tumble and he twisted an ankle.
I think but in my defense, I kept going like a champ or like a stubborn fool. One of the two. I leave that decision in your hands. But like a champ, I like to think, I continued forth and finished like half the house. Yeah. Which was great. And so
we made a lot of progress on that today, which was really good.
We were lifting and throwing 30-foot ladders all over the place. It was great. And so our house is slightly less leaky now, slightly less absorbent.
And we still made it in for the live stream.
Right, look at that.
It is time to get down to business by asking, what are we drinking today?
Oh my gosh, Stephanie.
I've got Super Mario today.
What are you drinking?
Mug.
Okay.
My mug of choice is Super Mario. And this is a new one. It's cherry tea. Is Wysocki cherry tea. I'm very excited about it.
Wysocki?
Yeah.
Wysocki!
Polish tea isn't usually a thing you find, but we'll see.
What am I drinking, friends? I think you know by now.
Is it unbranded Diet Cola X?
Unbranded Diet Soda X in my signature crappy blue glass mug.
We're going to get you like a great mug. It's going to be like a GTLive mug.
It would be the most amazing mug if it were a GTLive mug. Hey, let's talk about actual stuff, shall we?
Let's get in here.
Pussyfooting around, and by pussyfooting I mean breaking my ankle. That's all the foot I care about right now. Enough pussyfooting around. Let's talk about the news. And so first and foremost, just as kind of like our little starter bit of news here, we have a bunch of different stories.
Just so you know, sorry, before we get into it really quickly.
I was getting into it. We've already not been into it for so long,
But
Stephanie.
I do want to point out, so usually...
What are you doing?
Usually if people are spamming something in the chat, it's sort of annoying, and I think it's bothersome for people who are also in the chat who are trying to send nice messages or questions or something like that. But today, I will briefly point out, and then you have to stop. I will briefly point out, because I think it's funny, we are being egged in the chat.
Are we being egged?
Everyone is just saying egg. It's like egging a house, but you're egging a live stream.
Is that what it is?
In the chat, if you are not listening to this as a podcast and you can actually see the chat, we are being egged in the chat, and I just think that's funny. And I appreciate it, so I'm calling everyone out. Thank you for egging us. I think that's actually really charming. Now stop, and we're going to start talking about real things.
I mean, nothing new. I'm always walking around with egg on my face.
Oh!
Hey, so as our little starter story of the week, E3 happened. We briefly talked about this yesterday. We were gone at E3 all last week. We were touring around the booths. We were having conversations with people. We were watching all the press conferences. And so I think the appropriate way to start off today is with E3 thoughts and reactions.
Ooh, okay.
We did a bunch of fun stories from the show floor on Instagram in case you wanted to see those. We had a grand old time making goofy things about like our first stop being the bathroom, which was accurate. But I'm curious, Steph, did anything surprise you? Were you excited? Did you have a winner? Here's my take. The winner of E3 2019 is 2020. Because there is nothing going on this year, really, and that everything is happening in 2020.
I was going to say, is that because all the games that were announced all come out in 2020, not 2019?
It's funny, too, because last year, my winner of E3 2018 was 2019, because everything was supposed to come out in 2019. Oh, no, friends, it's gotten pushed back yet another year. That's how you know you're in between console generations or whatever. No, if I were to be 100% honest, I think, for me, there was a lot of, like, cool stuff, a lot of things I'm interested in. Nintendo to me was far and away like the winner of E3 just because for the first time you really got the sense of how successful the Switch has been and how many things are rolling out for it, right? Where you look at it and it's like, here's a new game, here's a new game, here's a new game. Also, here's all the third-party support from all these games that were released in the past that now are on the Switch.
Everyone's hopping on the Switch bandwagon. And also, I think the presence of Nintendo was more heavily felt because they were one of the only really big booths on the show floor this year. One of my impressions of E3 was actually that it felt a bit empty as compared to previous years. I mean, it's still a huge spectacle. It's still amazing. But without the huge Sony and Xbox booths, which for those of you who have never been there and have never seen it, these booths aren't like... When I didn't know E3 and I thought of what a booth was, I think of like a little station, maybe no bigger than like a food truck or something like that. These booths are city blocks. They are literally the size of a city block. They have multiple stories, so you walk upstairs in a lot of them. They have offices in them. They are actual buildings that are built inside the convention center. And so when two of the biggest are missing, Sony and Xbox, and they're completely gone, that actually leaves a big gap, and it leaves a lot of like open space in the show floor that I felt like it felt a little lonely.
Yeah, you could definitely feel that this year felt significantly smaller, and you felt the absence. Like, if you were to say the winner of E3 was 2020, the loser of E3 was probably like E3 itself in a lot of cases, because people are like, well, there's nothing there. I actually liked it a lot, though, this year. It felt less crowded on the whole because there was so much less stuff, and so you were able to get around a little bit easier. The lines were a bit hit and miss at times. Fortunately, because we count as media, we're able to sign up for appointments in advance. Yeah, the Nintendo booth was great. They recreated like the Haunted Mansion in honor of Luigi's Mansion,
which was awesome,
which was super cool and super adorable.
Cool.
They had like a rock climbing wall for Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, which was great. Just across the board between, hey, here are 3 Zelda games, Cadence of Hyrule, the remake of Link's Awakening, and Breath of the Wild 2. Like, here's a bunch of like a series that you like, here's an Animal Crossing game, and here's a bunch of third-party support, and Mario Maker 2, and new Pokemon. Like, there was a lot happening from Nintendo. It was really good. I think Microsoft is interesting. I'm curious what they're doing with their next generation of system with Project Scarlet, which to me sounds like it's going to be another like cloud similar to I actually predict that it's going to be similar to Stadia, where it's going to be a cloud-based system where they're like, it's 8K and it's 120 frames per second.
If you have the right internet connection, if you have a gigabit internet connection.
And who knows, I might be wrong there, but I think the reason they didn't reveal more details about it is because they know that the internet right now is in a touchy place when it comes to like cloud-based gaming platforms. And so they're like, let's seed it out, let's get people excited about it, and then down the line we might reveal that it's something else. That's my expectation. I could be completely wrong, but the way they were talking about it made me suspicious. I'm like, are you doing something in the background there?
Let's see, other things at E3. The food is still very expensive and really awful. And we saw, not as many people, we didn't get a chance to see as many friends this year. Like, usually we get to see Gerard. Usually we get to see a bunch of people. The only place we really ran into them was at the, you ran into them at the, YouTube always has a dinner for some gamers. But even that didn't have, like, as many people at it this year.
Weird,
so,
just across the board, it was just kind of like very mellow.
Some good games coming out, but in terms of like E3, we usually spend a ton of time there. We spent less time there. It was a bit smaller, and we just kind of like hit up the stuff we were super interested in. We saw some like of the cool 2K games. That was awesome. We did go and see like all the Square Enix stuff. We just missed a chance to play. I just missed a chance to play anyway, the new Final Fantasy like demo and stuff, but I'm sure we'll get plenty of time with that.
Yeah, we did some time with Bandai Namco, which was great. The new Dragon Ball RPG game actually looks really stellar. I think Bandai Namco is really smart in the way that they're pitching this game. In case you're not familiar, there's Dragon Ball Kakarot, which is kind of like the original couple of anime arcs from Dragon Ball Z. It's an RPG, but kind of like free roaming. You can go to a lot of different directions. And the attention to detail and the respect that they've approached the fan base with this game is brilliant, right? Because in their messaging up front, as before you even get to play the game, they're like, we want you to feel as powerful as possible and feel as though you have an open world to explore as Goku. But we also want to make sure that you're still able to enjoy the battles and go through these storylines in a way that's very similar to how they went through in the show itself. And so we've had to kind of railroad you or restrict you in certain ways. And so they've done a good job of really explaining the rationale for some of the creative limitations that they've done. They're like, hey, Goku is the strongest, but in the show, like, he's fighting characters who are stronger than him at given points in time. And so as a result, like, you know, we've actually underpowered you in the main story mode, whereas in like PvP stuff you get more. Like, it was really done. It was really well done. It was very smart. We mentioned this yesterday during the live stream, but there's a new installment in the Until Dawn series at this point, which is being called Black Pictures or Dark Cinema or something like that. It's part of an anthology series called The Man of Medan. That looks really cool. It's coming out in August. We're going to be playing that on the live stream, you can bet. So across the board, it was fun. It was an interesting E3. Winners, I would say, are Nintendo.
2020.
I thought Oculus had a good showing. I thought Bandai had a good showing. I think Final Fantasy 7 and 8 look great. And shoot, there was one other one I wanted to call out. Oh, and Keanu Reeves, obviously.
Duh.
Keanu Reeves, winner of E3 2019.
The winner of 2019 in general.
In general, right? Like, last year was like Josh Brolin's year with all the like...
He's having like a big moment.
Yeah, Josh Brolin last year was Cable and Deadpool 2 and Thanos. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, this guy's great. This year is like the year of Keanu Reeves between Cyberpunk and between John Wick and stuff. Like, just huge. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to all the winners. And in general, sorry, E3. We'll see. Hopefully you're able to still maintain relevance.
Yeah.
I think that Sony not being there was a misstep. That's the last thing I'll say about it. I get what they're going for. They saw the success that Nintendo's had with their like Nintendo Directs. And it makes sense, right? They're like, why would we pay an egregious amount of money to showcase at E3 when we can just own our audience on YouTube, on whatever platform, and give PlayStation Directs? You're right. I think that's smart. But Nintendo, I think the thing that they're missing out on is the fact that Nintendo had been building that up for years. Yeah. Their YouTube channel has been around, and they've been doing very good work on their YouTube channel.
That Nintendo Minute has been going for years.
It's so and it's so good, and it speaks to the fans.
The Treehouse, all that stuff.
Nintendo's online strategy, with the exception of them claiming all the videos at the beginning, like, is very good.
Yeah.
And they're often an example that we point to when we're like, hey, here's a brand who's doing good work in the space. Here's someone who gets it for the most part.
Just don't claim people's videos.
Yeah, just don't claim. And they don't anymore, which is good.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where, as a result, they have an audience who's ready and eager and waiting for each of their new announcements. Sony, I don't think, has been able to do that or hasn't like really put in the time to get to the level of... The level of kind of like
trust,
loyalty,
and
devotion. Yeah.
I mean, it takes a long time to build that stuff.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people aren't loyal to PlayStation or Sony. What I'm saying is
they might not be like looking for them on YouTube all the time because they don't know that they're there they aren't expecting that.
They don't know they exist, right? And I think whereas Nintendo's like, hey, we're dropping a Nintendo Direct around E3, even though we're not physically like present for a press conference there.
Yeah.
I think it's smart of them to still recognize that these are tentpole events for the industry, and as such, they need to be a part of the conversation. And so for Microsoft and Nintendo to show up, as it were, and then Sony to be left out, I think this was a missed opportunity for them to really highlight what I'm assuming is like the PlayStation 5 and then some of their other stuff. Like, I was actually really eager to see if they were going to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's VR and some of the VR stuff.
PSVR, man.
And it was like a missed opportunity. So I think they might have gone from like 0 to 100 too quickly, and as a result kind of missed out on, like, I'm sure it'll be successful in the long term. I'm sure that they'll find a way to make it work, but I think they jumped the gun a little bit on that one. Yeah. So that's E3 thoughts overall. It's interesting to see as the industry evolves. Oh, Devolver Digital. Thumbs up.
Oh, yeah, thumbs up.
You guys are great.
Hey.
Hilarious. If you haven't seen their press conferences,
they're worth watching even if you don't care about video games at all.
They're pieces of artwork. They're just wild. Definitely worth your time. Okay.
Next story.
What would you like to talk about, Steph?
Are we going to talk about PewDiePie?
Let's talk about Pewds, shall we?
Let's talk about Pewds.
Pewds. So this is our cover story of the day today on T-Series. Yesterday, 2 days ago, recently, PewDiePie came out with a video where he looks at his analytics. It's not actually his analytics. He's looking at Google Trends data in that video.
This I have to say, this made Matthew like a little bit salty.
I wasn't
a little bit, just a pinch.
I mean, this is
just a pinch.
No, I wasn't salty. I was just like, Pewds, you got to. As an analytics guy, I was a little bit like, oh, come on, man. So here's the thing, right? In this video, he looks at not his analytics on his channel, which is not surprising, right? Like, he's not going to really reveal a lot of that. That makes sense. He looks at Google Trends data. And for those of you who don't know, Google Trends is actually an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah.
If you're a YouTube creator, if you're a website designer, like if you are interested at all in how things are performing and what's trending online, Google Trends is a free tool that you can access right now, and it's great. All of our consulting that we do, one of the first things that we tell them is to go to Google Trends and use this tool. If you're, deciding what you should title a video, if you're looking at what you should be talking about, whatever.
If you're looking at like when things start to get popular, like for instance, if you want to do Christmas themed videos, should you start those December 15th, December 1st? Should you start them at Thanksgiving? When do those actually get popular? Google Trends can tell you. It can just tell you every single year when to start doing stuff for the Super Bowl or Valentine's Day or Christmas or like whatever thing you want to do videos about. And then it can tell you like, is Fortnite versus Apex Legends more popular? I mean, sometimes it's very obvious, but like sometimes it's not, right? And so you can actually like compare two things to see which one is more popular, and then be like, oh, if I'm just looking to do a video on something that's popular, I'll just pick the most popular one on Google Trends, and that makes total sense. I think the way that PewDiePie like kind of talked about it though, it was like he has discovered this, or like this was something new. This thing has been around for like 8 years. We've been using this for years and years.
It's the best.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's been around. And so in the beginning of the video, he's like, did I have an original thought? And it's like, well,
no, not at all.
Not quite.
But no, not at all.
but it is interesting, right? So the Google Trends is really powerful because not only is it telling you like the relative searchability of things, right? Like for instance, this is a really easy example for the channels, but like FNAF as a search term, FNAF, is actually much stronger than Five Nights at Freddy's, the official game title, right?
No one wants to type in the whole game title.
Of course, people don't want to type in the title. And so, but you can see the relative searchability of those sorts of things. Or if it's like, hey, like Steph said, Apex Legends versus Fortnite, or how is Fortnite trending? Is Fortnite trending up or down? It's trending down pretty heavily right now. A lot of interesting stuff like that. The other cool thing about it, though, and one of the reasons I was frustrated with Pewds' video is you can change it based on platform, right? So when Felix was looking at his analytics, he was looking at the global web performance of the search term PewDiePie, and he's like, oh my gosh, look at how heavy of a dip I'm having. I'm not popular anymore. I told people to stop the subscribe to PewDiePie thing, and now it's gone. The thing is, he was looking at web traffic, right? And then he's like, who else has been more or, just as, if not more popular than me? And he's like, wow, Jake Paul has this huge spike that's even bigger than me. Here's Logan Paul, who's even bigger than both of them. The reason why is because it's measuring web search traffic,
not YouTube. So it's measuring like news articles about people. It's actually and like regular Google search. It's not measuring their videos, the popularity of their videos online, that kind of thing. It's not measuring how many views they have, nothing like that. It's literally just measuring like how many people were searching for them, like to get articles, news stories, that kind of stuff. And if you think about all of the garbage that like Logan and Jake Paul have done, that's gotten them a lot of news coverage, which is why they're so big when you look at Google Trends the way that PewDiePie was using it.
Right.
The way he should have been using it is actually to switch. There's like a toggle, like right there on the website. It's like right in front of you. It's literally right in front of you. All you do is drop down and you switch from web to YouTube. Like you can actually switch it to YouTube. And so what he was like, the whole episode, we were like, come on, man, switch it to YouTube. Like, switch it to the thing that's relevant. And he didn't. And we were like, oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't know if that was intentional or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, right?
But it was one of those things where...
Like, maybe it made a better video if you looked at the YouTube... if you looked at the web results. I don't know.
Because the thing is, it's, the fascinating thing about Google Trends, right? And again, this is one of the things that we tell a lot of the people we consult for, is because it's such a powerful tool, you can switch from like web search to YouTube search specifically, and other Google products as well, but those are the main two that people care about. And because you can toggle between them, on web search, if you search for Kim Kardashian, she's huge. And if you search for James Charles, not even close.
Yeah.
Like, you can compare the two, and you're like, wow, Kim Kardashian crushes. James Charles, who the heck is that guy? If you switch it to YouTube, James Charles crushes Kim Kardashian at this point. And it's because the platforms are different. It's because the audience tastes are different, and they're looking for different things.
Yeah.
Right?
That's actually one of the most, like, that's one of the examples that we use with people a lot. We're like, look, both of these people are really popular, but they're popular differently in different places. And so when PewDiePie was like looking at web search results, it wasn't relevant for anything that he should be caring about. Like, it's not relevant for his subscribers or like people who are going to subscribe, nothing like that.
It's also one of those things too where as in that particular video, he's like, wow, look at this huge spike and how quickly it dies off for Logan and Jake Paul. And again, that's because
it's because he's looking at news stories.
It was news stories that were relevant to the bad behavior that they had, you know, a year ago or whatever. And so with those sorts of news stories, they come and they go very quickly. They're not the sort of thing, you know,
they
Logan
only
and
last
Jake
a couple weeks.
Yeah,
you know?
and when it comes to like general web search traffic, people aren't really looking, like, you know, my parents aren't really looking for those guys period ever, but if they were, they'd only be looking for them for that week, right? Whereas, you know, on YouTube, they're going to have a much longer tail in the analytics. So I think first off, you know, this whole idea of like PewDiePie's channel's in trouble.
He was looking at the wrong graph, dude.
Yeah, so that was one thing. I mean,
do you even data, bro?
And here's the other thing, right? Like, the big concern was the drop off that he's had in subscribership, right?
Yeah.
Where like as soon as he said, "Hey, let's stop the whole subscribe to PewDiePie thing," subscriptions slammed to a halt, which I get that. That's concerning. That's alarming. Absolutely. But subscribership also doesn't really matter as much on YouTube anymore. And we've talked about this on T-Series, where at this point, YouTube is smart enough to know if you are a virtual subscriber to a channel.
Yeah,
right?
So it doesn't really matter if you're subscribed to a channel. If you watch like 5 straight videos in a row from a channel that you love, like
Honest Trailers.
Yeah, Honest Trailers.
I watch Honest Trailers every single week,
Yep.
but I don't subscribe to them.
Yep.
I'm just not a subscribe type personality, and so. And we also have a lot of accounts, so I think like
Yeah,
2
we
of
have a
my
lot
accounts
of
are actually
accounts.
subscribed for them. But
Yeah,
like
but most of
one
our
of them
accounts
isn't.
aren't. But if we watch a bunch of Honest Trailers in a row, those are still going to show up on our homepage. They're still going to show up in our suggested. We're still going to see them all over the place for the next 28 days, which is how long YouTube like keeps a cache of things. So those Honest Trailers they'll still like rotate through. We'll still be like aware of them until we've been like, okay, no, we really don't watch them anymore for like almost a month, and then that's when YouTube really cycles stuff out of the system. But YouTube is smart enough to know like, hey, this person watches this channel. It doesn't matter if they subscribe to them or not. They just watch a lot of this content. They rack up a lot of watch minutes. Like last night, we fell asleep to watching Good Mythical Morning, and we woke up and episodes of Good Mythical Morning were still playing.
Dear Rhett and Link, you're welcome.
You're welcome. We are never going to get that out of our searches. Like that's going to be on our homepage for weeks. I'm sorry, Chris. Every time you pull up our account, it's just going to be like full of Rhett and Link.
YouTube,
which isn't so bad. It could be worse, right?
Your YouTube premium boost that you see. Rhett and Link, the YouTube premium revenue that you see.
The 10 straight hours that was on.
These guys right here.
Yeah.
These two falling asleep to your like 1-star product reviews or whatever. That was totally us last night.
Yeah.
I fell asleep while writing a script. It was great. Super cool. But no, so I think that's the long and short of it, right? Is yes, it's frustrating, and for him especially, it's like I'm so close to 100 million subscribers, and now I've hit kind of like a wall or slowdown.
I want him to get there.
I want him to get there.
I really want him to get there, and I hope that YouTube isn't just like tanking him.
But it is one of those things that like subscribership doesn't really matter all that much anymore, and it's more of a vanity number than anything else, which is a problem. And I think it's important that we do call this out, right? Where subscribership is almost kind of like a vanity thing. It doesn't really have much solid meaning in the systems so much anymore. But it's a problem because YouTube still rewards people based on subscription numbers, right? And so you can have a huge channel that's really successful and is trending really well, but still be relatively low in subscription numbers. And to the outside world, oh, that's not a channel worth our time, or oh, that's not an impressive channel because it doesn't have X million subscribers. Or like, hey, I'm still striving to get the gold play button, the diamond play button, whatever. It's teaching people to value the wrong metric. Like both on the creator side, but also on the industry looking into YouTube at this point side.
Yeah.
It's an outdated thing that doesn't really jive with the way that YouTube operates.
That's
anymore.
honestly this is another story that we have, but that's honestly why I think that YouTube is having so many problems with notifications and has been having so many complaints from people about notifications for so many years, is that they've taught people that subscribing matters and notifications matter, and like reaching all your subscribers, with like a very specific email ping or something matters, but actually it doesn't. And so YouTube doesn't send out every notifications to every subscriber or something like that. But a lot of times they're also showing your videos to a lot of people who don't subscribe to you. Like they're working on a completely different level, but people have been so well trained by YouTube to think of subscribership as being like the end all be all, that's why there's this huge clash all the time between YouTube's notification system and people being like, where are my notifications?
Yeah, it's interesting too, because there's a lot of pressure on YouTube to make sure that these like notifications go out and this and that. And sure, that's important, but talking to people at YouTube, and I have no reason to doubt this, is they're like, if you actually look at the amount of traffic you're getting from a notification, even if it is a push notification to
people's phones,
to someone's phone in the moment it uploads, your thing uploads or whatever, the actual like difference that it makes in your video is negligible at best, right?
It's not negligible, but it is small.
It's small, right? It's
so
one of those.
Think about like,
go through the.
I was gonna think,
funnel. Go through the funnel.
Yeah, which is worth like, so like. Bear with some numbers here for a second. If you have 1 million subscribers, and let's say 100,000 of those subscribers have rung the bell, right? They're supposed to be notified of every single thing you do. Okay.
Which is roughly.
That's 10%.
That's roughly about right.
That's about right. So
like 10%.
if you think about most channels, ours is actually significantly more, but on average, I think it's like about 10%. Yeah, thanks guys for ringing the bell.
For ringing the bell for us.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
But so if you've got 1 million subscribers, if you've got 100,000 people who have rung the bell, that's a lot of people, right? And so you think a notification goes to every single one of those people's phones or inboxes or whatever, which it does. YouTube stands by the fact that it does.
So let's assume that YouTube is
true.
working 100% correctly. Right. Here's a fun math problem for your podcast on Tuesday.
But YouTube says that, they've told us that the click-through rate for push notifications, for the people who actually get them, is 5%, 3 to 5%.
Yeah, like that.
So of those 100,000 people, 5,000 of them are watching that video right away. So they're actually clicking on that push notification to watch it. So of 1 million subscribers, you're getting 3,000 to 5,000 extra views right away.
Because of the notification
because of the push
system,
notifications.
Right?
And now I don't doubt that people get a push notification, maybe they see it later, maybe it just reminds them to go back later.
They make a mental note to check out the video.
That could definitely be, but in terms of how many viewers you're actually getting in that moment, 1 million subscribers, 3,000 views. It's it's such a smaller amount than people think if my notifications went out, if I have 1 million subscribers, I'll get 1 million views. And that's just not the way it works, because people have lives. They don't click on every video, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's never the way it works.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? That it seems like in an ideal world, it's a 1-to-1 thing of this is how many subscribers I have. Certainly 50% of them at least have rung the bell and done whatever. It's not
like that.
It's just not the case in a lot of cases. And so as a result, what seems like it's a lot like the trending tab. And we've talked about the trending tab because that's always something that people care about on YouTube. But the trending tab also doesn't result in a significant number of views. Every once in a while, maybe you'll see a big influx of viewership from it.
Every once in a while, but mostly not.
But for the most part, not really.
It's maybe 5 or 10% more views. It's not that much.
It's not so much that it's really like changing the game for a lot of people. And I think notifications have the same thing, where in principle and in theory, it's like, oh, if this works and if this is gonna like, this is the thing that's gonna make sure that my channel is like explosive and continues. That's just not it. The thing that people forget, and the thing that we're constantly trying to teach in our consulting work, in videos, we actually have a video coming up this weekend on E3 and the YouTube algorithm and how
like gaming
how
and all
how YouTube might be affecting the games that get released in the near future. I think it's a really good episode. I think it's a very important episode that people start talking about.
Matthew's on the couch. It's so important.
It's a game theory, but it's me on the couch game theory, which is serious. Like usually the me on the couch videos are like, I have a serious issue in life. I have a serious issue in like gaming. / YouTube. No, but it's one of those things where people underestimate that most traffic, most of your subscribers, whatever, it's all based on how YouTube is suggesting and recommending your video, not in a push notification, not in a trending tab, but like, is it when I log into my homepage, is that video one of the first 2 or 3 thumbnails that I see? Great, I'm clicking on it. If I log onto my mobile device, on my phone, and is it one of the first couple things that I'm scrolling and hitting? Great, then I'm clicking on it. Subscribership or not, if it's interesting to me and it's in those first like 3 to 5 position, that's where it's getting the views. Is it in the suggested video feed next to the video that I'm watching? Great, I'm going to watch that. And YouTube knows that at this point, but the general YouTube viewership a lot of times doesn't really, and especially creators don't really think that way. But the content is ultimately dictating, and what they're suggesting to you is ultimately dictating what content succeeds and how quickly it succeeds.
Yep. I wanted to call out Angelica the Neko Angel, who says, I am one of the 10%. Hey, yo, thank you. That's awesome. Oh, I just high-fived your teacup. Okay.
Ting.
Let's, okay, so anything else about that one? Or anything else about the PewDiePie stuff?
Well, this segues into, and this is just kind of like a little tag on the end of this conversation, but so YouTube has come out in the wake of kind of all the pressure that they get about like fix subscription notifications, oh my gosh. And so then they're like, here's a bell, and people are like, this bell doesn't seem to work, even though it says I'm supposed to get everything. So apparently now YouTube is changing the notification system yet again by making all user notifications default to personalized. So users will need to personalize their notifications, but if they do, they're going to get the notifications that they want, right? So if users fail to do this, they may not receive the notifications of their favorite channels. The long and short of it is, one, congratulations, you now have complete control over what you do and don't see, which is not a bad thing.
Are there live stream versus VOD notifications?
I don't know. Chris, do you know if there's live stream versus VOD? Because it's something we've been asking them for the last 3 years.
Yeah, we've been asking them for this for so long.
Of course, we don't know that yet.
Of course not. But yeah, we've been
$5 says it's not. That €5 says
€5.
There are no.
Oh, I agree. Actually, I don't think they're gonna do it. We've been
they
saying
want
for 3
people
years.
to watch live streams so badly that they will not let you turn off notifications for them.
Yeah, we're like, hey, if someone subscribes to a channel that has both videos on demand and live streams, like Game Theory did back in the day, when this was over on the Game Theorist channel, we're like, hey, the value proposition of watching us do a live stream is very different from the value proposition of watching our, typical show that's animated and post-production heavy and very heavily scripted. And they're like, cool. And we're like, well, great. So are you going to like allow people the ability to turn on and off live stream notifications for this channel? And they're like, no. It's like, why would you not? And you talk to any creator who has tried to live stream on their channel, and inevitably they're like, I lost subscribers.
I'm so frustrated.
Like, yes, of course you did. Because a live stream is very different from an edited video on demand. They are two different things. That's why... And because YouTube failed to address it, that's why this live stream now lives on its own separate channel as opposed to being uploaded separately. Like, yes, all the creators recognize it. We've been telling YouTube it's just a little toggle. It's not even hard.
I know. If they've set up this whole system, it should be so easy. Anyway.
But anyway, so according to YouTube, they are adjusting the notification system so that you as a viewer can personalize what you do and don't get notified of. So that being said, if you are a fan of GTLive, if you're a fan of game theory, film theory, any of the stuff that we do, it would be awesome if when this rolls out, if it's already out, who knows, but when it rolls out, if you can toggle us on, that would be great.
Ding.
Shameless self-promotion. In general, I think this speaks to kind of one of my feelings, which is giving people more ability to control what they do and don't see in an online environment isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
I think people will self-select, like there's the whole like ethical thing of like, I'm going to keep in my content bubble. Sure. I guess that's it. But like allowing people the opportunity to opt in or out of certain things, I think is a good thing.
I was going to say, so YouTube, like no matter what you do, getting into a content bubble or like a spiral of conspiracies and stuff like that, that's still something that you have to manage. But I actually think that's a kind of a separate issue from this. I don't see them being like, totally related.
Guys, you're the best. I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat saying that you already have notifications turned on
Yes!
for either this channel or all of our channels.
Ooh.
You guys are amazing. You rock. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It does mean a lot, and it does make a difference. Because the one thing that I will say that does make the difference is getting people early to a video within the first 2 to 3 hours actually fundamentally changes the way that YouTube recommends that video moving forward. It is uncanny how important those first couple hours are.
Yeah.
So you being able to get there early and quickly is super essential. But yeah, in general, I think opting into allowing people more personalization, good thing. And here's the thing, even if it's a small subset of people who use it or who opt to use it, at least it's available. And you can, when concerns like this pop up, you as a platform, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, can point to being like, well, there it is. You can do it. If you want more personalization, there it is.
Yeah.
Like if you're not happy with the way our systems are doing it, there it is. Will a small percentage, will like 1 to 5% of people do it? Yeah, probably about like 1%,
Yeah.
I would say, are actually going to hop in
The
and use that thing.
hardcorers.
Yeah, the hardcore people, but those are also some of the most loyal, most important people using the service that you offer. So
so why not
cater
give
to
them more choice?
Yeah. And then if complaints arise, you have that as a fallback of like, yes, we did give you that ability because we care.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's it. Next story.
All right, next story. What are we covering next?
What do you want to talk about, Steph?
Oh
Next
my
story.
gosh.
I would say we should talk about. There was TikTok drama.
I don't know like the guy who was in the TikTok drama though.
People are being hacked with a lot of prawn.
Oh, that's true. There's prawn all over the place.
So much prawn.
So can we talk about hacking and also people faking being hacked?
Sure, we can absolutely do that, Stephanie.
So
what would you like to say?
I mean, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we've talked on this channel before about this is as close as we kind of get to a conspiracy on this channel, but like about how in Hollywood, like it's a true fact that people will sort of fake things happening to them or even bad things happening to them just for the PR story, just to make sure that their name is in the news right around the same time that they're going to like launch a product or that they have a new movie coming out or a new TV show is going up or whatever, to make sure that they're like in the headlines and to get their project some extra promotion. And so the latest the thing that brings us up today is Bella Thorne. So and Bella Thorne's Twitter.
Are you calling out Bella Thorne right now?
No, absolutely
I think
not.
You are.
Here's the thing.
I think you are.
No, I'm talking about what's actually circulating around this. I have a really hard time swallowing the idea that a lot of people would release like sensitive or nude photographs of themselves just for a PR stunt, even though Kim Kardashian definitely did that to launch her entire career. But one of the things that's going around the internet right now is, did Bella Thorne actually like put her nude photos, her prawn? No, it's not prawn. It's just nude photos, I think, out on the internet as a publicity stunt.
So, Chris, catch us up on this one. So, first off, for everyone who doesn't know who Bella Thorne is, not myself, clearly.
Bella Thorne
what's
is
the
a young
story?
Celebrity. I'm
Yes.
not going to go into what she's been in, but she's a young celeb.
Are
Yeah.
you not going
She's
into
young
what
celeb.
she's been in
She's-
because you don't know?
Well, yeah.
Right. Okay. Can I
we
can
need
I
to
just say this?
IMDb
No.
Bella
This
Thorne.
is and yes, please, because this is one of those things that like I don't know. There's so many like dime a dozen people, and I hear her name a lot. I should know who it is.
She's been on
a lot of stuff,
some
right?
TV shows. Yeah, she's not like out of nowhere.
Isn't she the one who gave PewDiePie a hard time in this is all I know about her potentially.
understand
Isn't she the one who
the-
threw shade at PewDiePie like as a presenter at an award show that one time?
She does a lot of stuff on YouTube too.
She said something along the lines of like, if you want your name pronounced correctly, you should have shown up, kind of thing.
Oh, did she was
Was
the one
that
who
her?
said that?
Was that her? I don't know.
No, don't spread fake news unless we know.
I don't think that was her.
That was another one.
Don't.
Like I said.
So the show she's most famous for is a pretty recent show called Famous in Love.
Yep,
which-
and Shake It Up.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
I feel kind of.
Oh, Shake It Up on Disney. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, Disney.
Yeah, Famous
Yeah.
in
No
Love
wonder.
is a
No
freeform
wonder I
show.
don't. No wonder I'm not
If
familiar
you
with
were a
it.
30-year-old guy watching Disney tween shows, that would actually be creepy. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
kind of
actually-
glad that you don't know a lot about
I was
her.
gonna say I actually feel justified in this one.
okay.
I never had Disney Channel growing up either. I know it was a big part of like people's childhoods, and so I've been trying to catch up on a lot of the like iconic shows that I missed or was too old for. That's why like we've been able to do things on like Phineas and Ferb and stuff like that, but it's been a slow process. And yeah, like especially the live action stuff, just like cartoons. I like cartoons a lot. I like animated shows a lot.
But neither
like,
of us got
like the Hannah
neither of
Montanas
us
of the
did
world.
Hannah Montana, Lizzie McGuire, even like we were just like not.
And just in general,
doing
like
that
I don't know,
stuff.
when I was a kid, even when I watched Nickelodeon growing up, I didn't watch a lot of the like live action shows.
Ooh, she's not very popular in the chat. We're not gonna like rail on her too much. But all we're calling out here is the story where
It was her. Everyone's confirming that this was her,
this
the one
was
who
gave
shaded PewDiePie
a hard time.
Which okay, already you got a big thumbs down. This person who I have no idea about, but
I was gonna
give
say,
a.
we really don't know enough about
No,
her to pass
I do.
judgment.
No, I do though. Here's the thing.
No,
Here's the thing. If you are a presenter at and I feel strongly about this. I feel very strongly about this. If you have the honor, and I do think it's an honor, to be a presenter at an awards ceremony that is giving an achievement to someone else, this is like a highlight for someone, or it's supposed to be meaningful. And yes, a lot of these trophies are meaningless, and we've talked about how a lot of them are just like who you know and who you know what your PR story is, whatever. There's a lot of like iffiness to it. But I feel very strongly that if you are selected to be a presenter at an award ceremony, it is essential that you treat that with respect and dignity, and you like at the very minimum know how to pronounce everyone's names. And one of the reasons I feel really strongly about this is last year at the Streamy Awards, and I love the guys who run the Streamy Awards. They're very nice people. We know them very closely.
Personally, they give us baby advice. Like they're very, very nice.
They're
guys.
great. Josh Cohen is a wonderful person.
Yeah.
The choices that they make for their pre-show, I question a lot of times. And this last year, it was so clear that so they have a pre-show where they hand out like 75 to 85% of the awards that are actually being given out, and then like the main show only focuses on like the 10 biggest awards. It's not much. Most of the awards get handed out during this pre-show.
Yeah.
And the presenters last year were so clearly under rehearsed, unprepared.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing was unprofessional. I was so disappointed, and I felt so bad for all of my friends and people that I knew who it was their first time being nominated. It's a big deal. Like I remember when we're nominated for Streamy Awards and we've won 3 of them. Like it is a big deal to us as YouTube creators. It matters. It's meaningful to like go up on stage and have like we won for editing, and so to have all the editors come up and be able to accept that together was awesome because they deserved it and they worked so darn hard. And so to watch as like Sophia Nygaard's name gets butchered.
It's like Safia Nygard, and it was like, oh.
It was one of those times where like and this was like one in just an onslaught of these things. And I'm like, it's Sophia Nygaard. Like, do your basic homework. So for Bella Thorne, okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up, right, is so for Bella Thorne to blatantly not only like stumble across Felix's name during that award ceremony, but then to also throw shade of like, well, then you should be here. Great. Tell that to literally every like Oscar nominee. Like, what was it? Robert Downey Jr. won at the MTV Awards, the MTV Movie Awards, and he sent in a video. Like, it's a thing. He lives internet. So that shows a level of disrespect and unprofessionalism that I don't care how you are. Like, that tells me so much about your character and how you view the world and how like into yourself you are that I'm just saying, like, I'm sorry if that's an unpopular opinion. I'm sorry if people love her or whatever. But if that's the one thing that I, as a person in the outside world, know about you, and that's how you treat this responsibility you're hired out to do, you got a problem with me. I am mad.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Salt.
I feel
salt.
I feel strongly.
The steam is just rising off of this couch. If you are listening to this as a podcast, it is hot. It is steamy in here. Matthew's face is just on fire. Actually, you don't blush very much, but I imagine if you did, you would be blushing pretty hard. So okay.
No, the long and short. I know. I'll let you talk in a second.
I'm gonna let you stop.
The long and short. I don't know. I feel really strongly about people getting recognized or rewarded for like hard work and hard effort. And like when people try to diminish what other people do, especially when they're online, when it's a traditional media celebrity versus an online creator, like that's like the worst possible scenario, right? Because I come from this world and I know how hard we work, and I see whether you do like the dumbest videos out there, like you're putting your heart and soul and a ton of time and effort into this sort of thing. And so to be kind of like undermined or whatever, and to have like your hard work kind of like, you know, like pooped upon, like that frustrates me. And I don't care if it's an entertainment Hollywood show or if it's like a grade in a class or whatever. Like people demeaning or diminishing the hard work of other people really frustrates me. And it's I don't care how good your fan art is. I don't care how greatly edited your video is. Did you try your hardest? Did you work hard? Great. Good for you. You should be proud of that. And there's no reason you should be ashamed. And so for someone else to come in and say, you suck, or like, you're not good enough for me to learn your name. You got nominated for this thing, but I'm not going to take the time and respect you enough to actually like give you the time of day in this sort of thing, and to undermine you in a thing where you're supposed to be celebrated. Like, what if Felix won? I forget if he won, but what if he had won?
I forget.
But
he did.
But if he did, like, how does that feel? You know, that you accept the award, but they couldn't even get your name. Like,
that's like the time that you showed up at the YouTube Creator Summit and they hung the wrong picture for you.
Absolutely it is.
Matthew is just channeling all of that rage that from the YouTube Creator Summit into this discussion. Okay, so I think your feelings...
I just want respect for people, Steph. I just want everyone to be respected.
Your feelings are respected and valid. You have been heard. I think we can all acknowledge that it's a pretty crummy thing to do to not bother to remember someone's name. I'm going to just, for devil's advocate, take the other side and be like, maybe she was just having a crummy day. Let's talk about her nudes on Twitter. So the story here.
Sorry, I need to cool off. I need another unbranded Diet Soda X. I'll be right back. Steph, you catch everyone up on the story.
Matthew, you can't walk. Your ankle is broken. Your ankle is broken. So the story that we're coming around to, maybe finally, is that essentially a hacker took control of Bella Thorne's Twitter account, and that's sucks for any public figure or anyone that happens to, and managed to gain access to something like that.
Wow, you're doing a great job of summarizing the story.
It's unclear if they got access to more than her account, like if they could have posted her nudes on like without her consent. Because if you just get access to someone's Twitter account, that doesn't mean you get access to their entire computer, to their entire phone. So diet soda reveal. So Matthew just accidentally held up his diet soda X for today in front of the camera. So it's unclear how much access they actually had to her information or her files, but as a stand to take back her power and basically be like, hey, Twitter hacker, there's nothing of mine that you could post about me that I wouldn't post about myself, essentially. She posted nudes of herself. She posted her nudes. And there are a couple of things that strike me about this as a little bit weird. Again, just because someone gets access to your Twitter account doesn't mean they have access to your files. But let's say like this person did have access to her files. It would, Twitter actually works very quickly. We recently had an incident where we had to contact Twitter and get something behind the scenes taken care of for Matthew's account, and it had to be done, and they did it in a matter of like a couple of hours, not even like an hour and a half or something like that. So I just feel like if they knew that an account was taken over by a blackmailer or something like that, that they could have probably acted very quickly with Twitter at least, or maybe there's something else to this story. Maybe they got access to a bunch of her files and she was just like, hey, I'm you have all of my files, you have all this sensitive information on me, I'm going to just put this out as a statement of my own power, like, I'm basically just going to get to this before you can. And the question is this, like, what would you do in this situation? First of all, I think is the first question. And then the second question is this real? Because there are some people online who are saying that she is faking this because she has a new book that's coming out and just to sort of put herself in the news. And here we are talking about her. Look at that.
So it worked.
Yep. So what would you do? What would you do if a hacker got access to either your Twitter account or like all of your files? Like, what would you do something like that?
No one wants to see nudes of me. Trust me, you don't. Period. Like, that would just be punishment for everyone, honestly.
Also, does everyone, can we take a quick poll of the group here?
Yes.
How many do people just in general, or maybe your friends as well, like, do people keep just like a bank of nude photos of themselves? Does everyone have nude photos of themselves that I just don't know about or have?
Wow, are you? This seems like sexual harassment.
It's not.
To our employees.
I know. I'm
Who
actually
here
just
has
asking.
nude photos?
Do you know of people who have like banks of nude photos of themselves, like a folder on their computer somewhere that's like nude photos of yours truly, like that kind of thing?
Chris's nudes.
So what I know about this is that no, people don't have banks of nude photos. But they have a photo that they did take to send to someone important to them, and maybe they've had multiple someone's important to them and multiple photos, and over time they accrue and something that was meant to be deleted remains.
Can I just say, like, why?
I think that is usually how that happens.
No, sure.
People send a lot of nudes online, I think.
But why? Why are you doing it? Why?
I don't think that's for us to judge. I think if they want to send nudes, they send nudes.
No, it's not new,
I'm
certainly.
Sure, like, since photographs, people have been sending each other nudes. So, like, it's just it's an intimate thing that some people like to do with one another.
That's all well and good, but why are you doing it online? Like,
it seems like a security risk to me. But
it seems like a huge. I don't care if you're a popular celebrity.
People in the chat are insisting that people do not have regular banks of nude photos, because this is what seems to happen to everybody. All of a sudden somebody gets hacked and it's like, ooh, nudes. But I'm like, how many nudes do people have?
Even when we're taking pictures of Oliver, Steph and I both will very conscientiously take photos to avoid him actually being naked.
We don't even take nudies of our baby in the bathtub.
No, like
seriously,
because
nothing.
Guess what?
He might not want those later on.
Things get out. Like when people are like, I'm taking naked pictures of me in Snapchat. I just don't get it. Like, in this day and age where people are so concerned about privacy and stuff, but no, it's fine. Whatever. Let me just pull down my pants. Like, woo, shove it in there.
Here's the thing. What? I don't think it's for us to judge. I don't think it's for us to judge. I think it, like, maybe people are in long distance relationships. Maybe they have, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what people's motivation is. The question is, what would you do in that situation? Like, I don't care if people are sending nudes.
The thing you do is you don't do it. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're worried about it, then you don't do it. Like, the best preventative measure or the best measure against this sort of stuff is to not do it in the first place. I get it. I get why.
Or just delete the evidence. Just delete the evidence.
Yeah.
And make sure you don't break up with someone who's really vindictive and who's going to, like, do, like, the revenge prawn thing, because that's not cool. And there's like no legal recourse against that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. It's really
bad.
Yeah, that's
really
a tough
bad
situation. Stuff. I mean, to me, if I were the type of person to do it, and I was concerned about stuff getting out, it's the thing that's keeping the Polaroid industry in business. Like, go and print them up yourself and send them via snail mail. I don't know.
No, that's lame.
Google Hangout.
You could do Google Hangout and then just
Google
Hangout ends.
Yeah,
But
that
maybe-
makes sense to me.
but
Google, or like Skype or live stream.
You're
or
not
whatever.
always in a position where you can do that. Like,
If you're in a position that you can take a picture of your hoo-ha and then email the hoo-ha over to the hee-haw, then the hoo-ha and the hee-haw meet up and it's great and it's fantastic. Guess what? You're probably doing a decent enough job that you can hop on like a Google Hangout and be like, hey, here's my hoo-ha, which will disappear as soon as I hang up.
Okay. I don't think like people should send whatever they want through whatever private messaging they have, as long as you're not sending it to me. I don't care. I don't care. But okay, so let's say that you had a group of embarrassing photographs of whatever nature.
All my photos are embarrassing.
And
they're not even naked.
Devices.
I don't take naked photos myself, and even then my photos are embarrassing.
So let's say your most embarrassing photos
Cringe.
are on your computer.
Pure cringe.
And a hacker gets them
Correction,
and they...
they're on my computer. I
Yeah.
take most of these photos.
That's very true. So a hacker's like, and
That
these
sounds like sexual
and these
harassment.
are really sensitive photos, right? So a hacker comes to you and they're like, I will release
A
these.
hacker comes to hello, sir. I just hacked your account. How are you doing
They
today?
say, Heidi ho there, I'm your neighborhood hacker, and I'm going to release all of your sensitive photos onto the internet to your 5 million Twitter followers and your 2 million Instagram followers and whatever else. Would you preemptively release some of those photos to head them off and put out some sort of context or information around them like this? What would you do?
I think the best.
Would
Person-
you pay them off?
I think you need to answer that right now, Stephanie.
Why?
Ladies first.
I
I need to think about. I've been ranting about other things. I need to think about it.
For me, I don't think I would, because there's a big difference between someone threatening to do something for blackmail and them actually doing it. As soon as a blackmailer releases photos like that, they lose all their leverage. So also, it takes a lot for them to do that, because that's game over, right? That's game over for them. And also, it's the kind of thing where, if I were that famous, right? If I were in a position of like tremendous power or something like that, even if it were a really embarrassing photo, I would try at least to come out with some kind of explanation or make sure that relevant parties know that I that I had been hacked, because this is also not like, this isn't her. She's not like I don't know, a major political figure who's cheated on their spouse or something, and these are like photos with like a mistress or something like that's not what this is. It's not like morally incriminating. They're just naked photos. Like, everybody at the end of the day has to take off their clothes at some point, so everybody's naked.
Not if you're a never nude.
Unless you're Tobias Funke. You're eventually, everybody has to get in the shower and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm naked. So everyone has that experience, whether they like their body or not.
I'm wearing a little pair of booty jean shorts
It's
underneath
not like
these
she was
pants.
committing a crime in these photos. This is not going to, like, presumably not going to ruin her relationships or something like that. They're just naked pictures.
Right? That's the thing. Like, it's just the human body. Like,
Yeah.
how bad is it? You know? And I think in a lot of cases, people are willing to forgive that sort of stuff because it's like, yeah, they didn't have a choice. Like, I feel like it's not a big deal nowadays. Like, yeah, it sucks, and yeah, people are starting to see you. But at this point, I think people online are trained to avoid that sort of stuff if they're not interested. And sure, they might be talking about like how you looked naked or whatever, but it moves on. People move on and go to the next thing. Or maybe in a fortunate scenario, people are like, hey, I respect this person enough, I'm not going to check it out. I respect their privacy, I'm not going to look. And so by her saying, here I am, I mean, on one hand, it's like, oh, taking back power, I get that. But on the other hand, it's like, I'm signal boosting what this person did and, spreading it even wider than it probably would have gotten on its own. If someone had just kind of like released them, a small subset of people probably would have seen it. But like for her to be like, hey everyone, here I am. Like, oh, okay, now everyone's like kind of forced to see it, sort of thing. So I don't know. Like, I agree with you. I think the answer in that case is, first off, recognizing that releasing stuff is the bargaining chip.
Yeah, that's all they've got. So,
and that being right, presumably. And so, going in and saying like, I'm just going to release them anyway, you're kind of jumping the gun there. I feel like there's probably other stuff that you can do. Yeah. But even then, like worst case scenario, naked pictures of you are out there. I've already gave the warning that if they ever leak from me, which I don't think I have any, but like if they ever leak from me, you don't want to see them anyway. So there you go.
I wonder if it would be strangely liberating in a way where you're like, there's really nothing that anyone, like, you can dish out all the judgment you want, but it's already out there. It's like kind of like nothing to lose. Right. People have like, or the whole thing of like, oh, if you're nervous with someone, just picture them naked. It's like, everybody knows. So what?
Sign me up for the next nude role.
I wonder if
I'll be in the next Game of Thrones and I won't be ashamed.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's like, cat's out of that bag.
Means that you're probably going to get cast in an HBO miniseries or something.
Hey.
Feel like...
Right, Bella Thorne might have a great future on like Game of Thrones too.
Right, I was going to say, it seems like every HBO show must have like a rider in their contracts being like, you probably will get naked at some point, so
only
get ready.
The women.
That's true. Although as the series went on, it seemed like more and more men were getting naked.
That there were a couple of naked man moments, and there's a reason why those don't happen on TV very much. People are like, whoa, no need for that.
Like I said, male anatomy, it's a weird thing.
So, okay, I think we've covered that one. Do you want to do one more? I think we have time for one more.
Do we have time for one more? What do you want to talk about then, Steph?
Let's see.
We talked about YouTube stuff.
Are we out of topics for today?
No, the last one actually is the franchise fatigue stuff.
Yeah, let's talk
which
about
I think
that.
is interesting.
Okay.
So this is one that's in the news right now where basically Men in Black International and Shaft, 2 movies, in case you weren't aware, actually were released and underperformed at the box office. Chris, do you have the actual stats around what they did? How bad was it?
It was a little bit below than what they wanted.
Yeah.
For Shaft, the studio was expecting to debut somewhere around 15 million, and it only mustered 8.3 million.
So that's like 50%. That's rough. Okay.
Men in Black was supposed to bring in. Oh, I just had it here. It just skipped away. Men in Black was supposed to bring in around 40 million, but it actually only got 28.5 million.
Okay.
So a bit of a bummer for the studios in both of these movies.
So this has prompted a lot of news outlets to question, are we experiencing franchise fatigue? Are audiences experiencing franchise fatigue? Maybe it's finally time for new and original content again.
I was going to say, which basically boils down to, are people getting tired of hearing the same stories over and over again in movies and TV?
First off, friends, I would say, yeah, we're using Men in Black and Shaft as the 2 movies. Their underperformance is the thing that's saying, like, we're tired of franchises. Men in Black hasn't had an installment in decades. Yeah. When is the last time that someone thought of a Men in Black movie outside of the amazing film theory episode that we did like last year? Hashtag shameless self-promotion for that film theory on the logistics of the neuralizer, which is actually fascinating science and tells you crazy stuff about how we're able to manipulate rats' brains through flashes of light. It is nuts. If you haven't seen it, which a lot of people haven't, because again, no one cares about Men in Black, it's available on Film Theory and it's totally worth a watch.
We could have told you that movie would underperform because we did that episode and it underperformed.
Well, we knew that movie was going to underperform because we did that episode. And even when we did that episode, we're like, you know what? This is going to underperform.
We knew
but
that
it's
going
a cool
in.
topic, so let's do it. That's why we did it, is because we're like, hey, this is interesting and fun to talk about. Let's do it. But we know that no one's really itching for Men in Black content in 2018, back when we did it. So, of course, in 2019, when a new Men in Black sequel comes out, it's like, surprise, surprise. So, and then Shaft. Shaft is a franchise? I
don't know.
I mean, I guess it is because it's an old series back in the day.
It's like too old for us, though. Like, I was never, like, I was too young for Shaft. Everyone on our teams was too young for Shaft when it came out. Like no one was watching. Like, I don't know. That's what is that? It's not really our parents' generation. It's like a Gen X thing. I don't know.
It's
What is Shaft?
Well, there was another Shaft starring Samuel L. that came out in 2000.
in 2000. I see. I didn't even know that. Like,
No,
okay.
I think I knew that, but I don't really. I wasn't watching that. Again,
Really, it
I
was another
kind
Shaft,
of-
and they didn't call it Shaft 2.
Yeah, I don't know if this one is technically a sequel or technically a remake.
The Shaftening.
Reshafted. Shaft 2.
Going down a dangerous
No, there's no
path.
no
nothing.
good
I was
sequel
like,
name.
yeah,
That's
right
why
there.
maybe
That's the
that's why
problem.
it was
That's
still
the
called
problem.
Shaft. It was still called Shaft because they couldn't come up with
Like
anything.
they're spending like a
Yeah,
week in the
so I
boardroom.
think those are bad examples,
Yeah.
honestly. And there have been so many really amazingly debuting sequels. I would, if you want to see if people are getting franchise fatigue, look at Toy Story 4 when that comes out. Like
Yeah.
that's coming out next week or something like that? 2 weeks, something like that.
This week.
It's this week.
This week,
It's
this week. Okay.
We actually
Oh,
have an
God, time
episode coming
flies.
out
Okay.
later this week
That's
on
right.
Toy Story.
Ha, ha. Good episode. That's worth a watch too. Make sure you come back for that. So yeah, if you want to look at franchise fatigue, that's Toy Story 4, but is it the fifth movie?
No, it's Toy Story 4.
It is the fourth movie.
It's
Okay.
4.
So
It's 4th.
look at that one. If that one way underperforms, then you could be like, oh, okay, people are getting tired of this. But also, I think it really just depends on the franchise.
depends on the
depends on how you
franchise.
do it. Like, you can't say franchise fatigue is a thing as if, like, all stories are the same.
Yeah, clearly people are really burned out of watching these franchises when Endgame is the second highest grossing movie of all time at this
come on,
point.
man.
Like it's trying to close in on Avatar or something. I don't know where the latest stats are, but yeah, of course. And here's the thing, right? If the new Spider-Man movie or the next Marvel movie underperform, you're going to be hearing these same conversations. But again, it depends on the franchise.
Yeah.
It depends on the topic. And guess what? Even if the next Marvel movie that isn't Spider-Man, because Spider-Man should do well because it's Spider-Man, and Spider-Man always does really well.
Somehow.
Because he's super
Even the
relatable
bad
and fun.
ones.
But it's one of those things that if the next Marvel movie comes out and underperforms, people are going to be like, it's the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the end of Marvel. It's like, no, of course it's not. Endgame was the end of a big chapter in this, like, massive thing, and it's starting new. Like, yeah, it's going to have a bunch of carryover from where Marvel's come from, but it's starting a whole new series, and it's going to have to build up momentum. I also, and I was talking about this with Jason yesterday, actually it was on Sunday. I think that people forget, like here in LA, right, where Hollywood is the biggest thing and it's entertainment and like there's movie posters everywhere, plastered everywhere. I think people in Hollywood where these articles get written, I think people forget you're only going to see a movie like once a quarter, like once a season.
Most people don't go to the movies every weekend.
Yeah,
Most
like-
people go, like, if you're a family or something with a couple of kids, first of all, it's expensive. Second of all, you got to wrangle everybody together to go to a movie. You have to agree on what movie to go to. Like, when I was growing up, my family saw, like, 3 movies a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would say like maybe like 3 to 4 movies
Yeah.
a year because
That's it.
That's and that wasn't atypical. That was pretty much everyone in my friend group.
Yeah.
You had the like 3 movies that were like, this is a special event, it's an outing, it's expensive. Movies are expensive, and I think in LA where like it's part of the culture and everyone has a subscription service to like the AMC Stubs or
Which is great, by the
which
way.
is fantastic
Hashtag
service.
not spawn, but it's really good
It's a
because we have to
fantastic
see
service.
a lot of movies.
Yeah, we
and we
see-
save a lot of money doing that.
At this point, we see a lot of movies. 1, because it's our job, and 2, because it's part of this like culture that we live in. But like, the thing is, to the rest of the world, I don't think I'd be curious in the chat. Let us know, how many movies do you go see a year?
McKinley says, I only go to see 1 to 2 movies a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And guess what? When one of those movies is gonna be Endgame because it's the biggest thing in the world right now,
Yeah.
and one of those is gonna be like, the other Marvel movie, Spider-Man, or another big superhero movie, or like a Disney movie, like that's already your 2 to 3 a year.
Weird
at that
nerds,
point.
same. Movies are too expensive. Lindsay D, we plan movies 4 months in advance.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I get that.
Once a month. Yep.
I understand
Maybe
that.
5 a year, 3 movies for cheap. I see 5 to 7, 2 at max, 10. There is one Space Crazy Pam every week. Every week they go to the movies. 3 to 4 a year, 12 trips a year to the theater once a month.
Daisy,
Yep.
I don't know, 7 says Coco was the last movie I saw. 4 to
Yeah.
5 a year. We're seeing about like
At least
5 on average.
I would say, yeah, 5 on average, but there are a good number of people who go once a month, but still, that's one. If you're picking one movie a month, and if they're talking about movies that are coming out like back to back,
right?
A couple movies, a couple weeks apart,
right.
And there have already been a bunch of big movies this year.
Yeah, if you're seeing 5 in a year, like that's already there's at least like 2 big movies coming out every single week in a lot of cases, and especially once you hit the summer blockbuster season. Of course things are going to underperform because so many of those movies are already absorbed by like the big tent poles that people are going to see anyway.
Yeah.
The Endgames and the Marvel movies and the DC movies and stuff.
2, 7, 3 to 5, only DC Marvel, says Violet
Right.
Winters. Yeah. I mean, everyone, I think we're all like kind of right in that same range. Matthew and I do see more because we have to, for film theory, we see them for film theory, and we see a lot of movies. I was just talking about this the other day. We see a lot of movies that I would not normally go to see, and that I'm not even particularly excited to go to see because of film theory, or like I would just be like, oh, let's just wait and rent it for $2.99 from Google or something, because I can watch it in bed. I can watch it with all the snacks I want, and I can rent it for $2.99. That's honestly a better experience than going to the movie theater for me. And so for a lot of movies, I would wait, but we have to see them for film theory.
Yeah. Well, like, and so we have to see them in a timely fashion, but I agree. Like, I'm not one of those people who has to see it on the big screen with like the Dolby surround sound. It's nice and I enjoy it and it's fun for us because it's a very easy thing for us to be able to like enjoy doing together.
Yeah.
But like, we are an anomaly, and I think a lot of people in LA are anomalies when it comes to this, and they're forgetting that to the outside world, movie going is still an expensive luxury.
Yeah, it is.
And so for Variety to say like, wow, these 2 movies underperformed, it must be the end of franchises, BS. You're looking for clickbait headlines because you're talking about Shaft and MIB International. No one cared about those franchises or hasn't thought about those franchises in decades.
This is so fascinating. Thank you guys for pitching into the chat and telling us how many movies you watch. This is actually fascinating. We should run like a poll on film theory
We should
or something
run a poll on film
to
theory,
ask how
I'm
many
thinking.
movies people have seen in the last year. This is like, I'm really inspired by this because this is really fascinating. And I would love to know what movies were you most excited about going to see? Like, when do you see them? Like, how often do you go? That's so cool. Thanks, guys.
Because so anyway, that's my take on this whole issue. I
totally agree.
I think
Bupkis.
Hollywood is kind of, we're all stuck in our own content bubbles, right? And I think Hollywood is no exception, where they think like, you know, everything that they do is going to be amazing and great and super successful. I mean, you heard the numbers. They're like projecting 100% more than what they earned, and it's like, yeah,
Come on, guys.
like, let's have a realistic perception. What? Men in Black doesn't have the brand awareness that people think it? Of course it doesn't. Well, and it doesn't star the original people like Will Smith. Like, it's come on. I think that's silly. I think that's just people looking for clickbait headlines.
Yeah.
And I am skeptical.
All right, I think
Just like I'm skeptical about Bella Thorne's news.
with that, I think we've come to the end of our stories for today for this episode of T-Series. Thank you guys so much for joining, for contributing. We love doing this series. It is so much fun for us to just actually be able to talk. And like I said, hopefully we will be transporting this to an official podcasty format on other podcast outlets. So if you want to download it and stuff like that, you'll be able to do that more easily.
Yep.
Take it on the road, listen on your commute, all of that kind of stuff.
Yes, so
we're excited about that.
Like we said earlier today, if you have any suggestions or places that you prefer to listen to podcasts,
send them to us on Twitter,
Let us know.
#GTLive.
that would be great. So that way
it.
we are taking that into account and know who we should be talking to and what we should be looking into, because we want to make this as seamless of an experience for you guys as possible.
Yep.
We'll be back later this week, 4:00 p.m. Pacific time. So be there or not be there, that is the question.
But you should be there.
But you should be there because we have a lot of fun games that we're playing right now between Just Shapes and Beats, between Baba Is You, and there's a lot of new stuff coming down the pipeline too. Kindergarten 2 is going to be released next month.
Yes.
Like I've been alluding to, there's the new kind of like supermassive games, Until Dawn. So there's a lot of fun
so much
gameplay
fun
stuff happening.
coming up, you guys. We're so excited about it. Thank you for joining today, and
We'll see you later this week. And in the meantime, guys, remember, that's just a cast, a podcast.
hey, ching.
Ching, indeed.